Today, we're going to talk about one of the first major bills passed by the Republican House and their meltdown over gas prices coming down. And I interview Congressman Ruben Gallego about his announcement that he's running for Kyrsten Sinema's seat in the U.S. Senate, how to deal with a three-way race that may hand the whole thing to Republicans, and the threat that someone like Kari Lake would pose if she takes the Republican nomination. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen, and you're watching No Lie. So after months of gas prices coming down almost $2 nationwide, Republicans have been in a state of panic, knowing that their most potent attack against Democrats is going away. And so House Republicans finally defied the odds and came together, if only momentarily, to actually pass some legislation. The bill, which passed 221 to 205, would curb Biden's ability to tap into the nation's petroleum reserves, because apparently Republicans are pissed off that after spending the entire midterm cycle wailing about high gas prices, Biden leveraged the strategic petroleum reserve to get gas prices down. And so now they want to take that tool away from him because they're mad that he did the thing that they wanted him to do. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene trying to make this argument for Republicans.
President Biden abused his power to sell our oil, reduce gas prices so that the midterm elections would swing Democrats' way. It's a shame to trick the American people just to win an election. No president should be able to use their emergency powers for politics.
I feel like I'm on a different planet. Joe Biden shouldn't be able to use his powers to reduce the price of gas? What? You couldn't talk to a Republican for like 6 months leading up to November without them talking about gas prices and blaming it all on Joe Biden. But when Biden uses one of the only tools available to him to ease those prices, now he's corrupt? I wonder if these people can hear themselves. Now, just as a quick aside, high gas prices are not the fault of any president. Here's what made gas prices rise. During the pandemic, when demand plummeted because no one was driving, a bunch of refineries were shut down. Then demand came back, and that refinery production didn't, so that meant supply was constrained. Another reason is that Russia invaded Ukraine, and much of the world didn't want to fund a genocidal war by buying Russian oil. That lowered global supply and increased global prices. And then there's the fact that China is exporting oil at the lowest rate in decades, further shrinking the global supply and further increasing prices. And of course, there's the fact that Republicans have prevented us from transitioning to renewables years ago, and so we're stuck relying on fossil fuel prices that are dictated by petrostates and dictators on the other side of the world. But that's a story for a different day. In any case, not much that Joe Biden can do, and Republicans knew that, which is why it was like the perfect attack line by Republicans. They would hammer Biden for something that he was incapable of fixing, which is a dream come true for the GOP. But Biden was able to release reserves from the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and he did about 500,000 barrels per day. Gas prices have dropped almost $2 since then. They're coming back to normal. And Republicans lost one of their most potent attacks. And so instead of being happy that gas prices are down, one of their first bills was to prevent Biden from being able to do it again. If you needed any more proof that they don't give half a shit about gas prices and care solely about leveraging your financial pain for their own political benefit, now you've got it. Now, I know I talk about this a lot, but I think it's worth repeating. This is what it looks like when the GOP wants to purposefully break government and then point to that thing that they broke as evidence that government is never the solution. Like, here we had a solution that actually worked. Gas prices came down. And so the very first thing that Republicans do is to try to make sure that Biden can't do it again. Over and over, we see that their sole priority is taking some element of government that's functioning properly, making sure that it can't, and then turning around and saying, look, told you government can't work. You need to elect more of us because we want to shrink the government. They tried sabotaging the Postal Service because they wanted to privatize. They tried sabotaging Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid because they wanted it privatized. They want no public schools because they want them privatized. Don't you get it? Republicans exist to crush the public sector because they think that any enterprise is not valid unless there's some rich CEO getting filthy rich while giving you the bare minimum. They look at our healthcare system, which is the most expensive in the world, even though we have worse health outcomes than any other industrialized nation, has some prize jewel. That's what they want for everything, for every sector, for you to pay more than everyone else, and then for some C-suite executives to make off like bandits. And then those people fund their campaigns, and then they try to manipulate you into thinking that it's all good. And it is good if you're the CEO. But I think if the last few years have taught us anything, it's that this whole philosophy of government being the problem isn't really resonating among Americans. Like, A functional government just got us an infrastructure package. It got us the first gun safety bill in 50 years, record climate spending, the ability for the government to negotiate lower drug prices, capped out-of-pocket costs for seniors, capped insulin costs for Medicare recipients, an explosion of renewable energy investments thanks to the CHIPS Act, veteran health care thanks to the PACT Act. This is what happens when government works, when it's not intentionally being sabotaged. Like, it can make regular people's lives better. And meanwhile, the GOP is so desperate to distract you from that they're falling over themselves to get you infuriated over the fucking pronouns that M&Ms are using. They're pretending that the Biden Gestapo are coming to take away your gas stoves. Like, just try to imagine how brainwormed Tucker Carlson viewers must sound to normal people when they try to explain that their biggest issue in politics today is that M&Ms are too woke and that Biden wants to come take away your stove. And this isn't new, right? Before M&Ms and gas stoves, it was Mr. Potato Head and Dr. Seuss and Starbucks Christmas cups and Grey Poupon mustard. Like, doesn't it get tired? Doesn't pretending to be outraged about nothing get tired for these Fox hosts and these Republican politicians? Like, I can't imagine being a grown-ass man and waking up in the morning and being like, today I'm going to pretend to be furious about M&Ms. I just can't wrap my head around having that little dignity. Like, I tend to want to be okay looking at myself in the mirror, but I don't know, maybe I'm overestimating Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity. So at this point, if your political priority is blocking measures that have proven to be effective and then spending the rest of your day whipping people into a panic over gay M&Ms, then Republicans have made it pretty clear that they're out there working for you. Here's a preview of my interview with Congressman Ruben Gallego. What happens if we find ourselves in a situation where Kyrsten Sinema does decide to run for the U.S. Senate as an independent, and that, even taking a few percentage points would make her a spoiler and basically hand that race to Republicans? What happens in that scenario?
Well, that doesn't happen. What happens in any scenario is that I end up winning, whether Sinema is in this race or she's not out of this race. I end up being the senator. She is, roundly unpopular. She has no base to work from. The only people that do like her are Republicans. So we do feel that that's where she's going to be pulling from. Obviously, we have to run a good campaign. We have to have the funds to do that. We're very lucky. We've had 27,000 individual donations in 3 days. People have gone to gallegoforarizona.com and just kept on hitting the donate button. And it's going to help us propel us to win this race.
But is there a scenario where, even if she does have a few percentage points from center-leaning Democrats, that she can, act as a spoiler in this race? I mean, I'm sure that bears itself out even to some small degree in polling that you've seen.
No, our polling doesn't show that. Again, you have to run a strong Democratic campaign in order to win that. And the best way to do that is obviously to run and win. There's no scenario in which this comes out with Senator Sinema staying a senator. She can't win. She obviously can't win a primary. That's why she switched. She's always going to be in third place. And so any other people suggesting that somehow we should just let her have a free pass is going to also ensure the fact that this still ends up, will end up for sure in a Republican hands. A strong Democrat is our best approach to this. And at the end of the day, a strong Democrat with great connections to the community, that's Latino, that speaks Spanish, that can really turn out younger voters, is going to be a sure shot versus whatever else people think would be a sure shot, I guess.
To check out the full interview with Ruben Gallego, click the thumbnail right here on the screen or check out the interviews playlist on my YouTube channel. And as always, if you want to see more of my content, don't forget to subscribe.